All right, today is cook number 4 on the Kamado Joe Pellet Joe. And if you've been following the first few cooks, we've had some surprise and delight, like our pizza, which my kids tell me it's the best one we've ever done, and I didn't see that coming. And we've had some struggles, like the brisket, which just go ahead and call that a brisket fail. That is not something I ever want to taste again. And so looking online, you guys have let me know that chicken on a pellet grill comes out fantastic. So today we're going for a redemption. Can the Kamado Joe Pellet Joe do an amazing job on spatchcocked chicken? Let's fire it up. Hey, I'm James from Smoking Dad Barbecue, and so for today's poultry cook, I like to buy my chicken at Costco in a 3-pack and go ahead and spatchcock them when I bring them home, and then I like to salt brine them with Diamond Kosher crystal salt. So that's exactly what we've done for the bird today. We've bought it previously, spatchcocked it, gone ahead and salt brined that for 24 hours in the fridge, and then I vac seal it so that when a day like today comes and it's a beautiful day, we want to cook some chicken, I've already got that seasoning deep into the meat, and we don't need to take any extra time in order to get great flavor. So for today's rub, I will not be adding any extra salt since we've already done that step. So now we've got our Kamado Joe cleaned out and ready to go. All there is left to wait is for the computer to take us up to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll be ready to season up our bird with our final ingredients and throw it on for today's hot and fast spatchcocked chicken on the Kamado Joe Pellet Joe. All right, all kidding aside, there's not a lot for me to do here. It's sort of just turn the dial and wait for the grill to come up to temperature. So while I do that, let me tell you a little bit more about the seasoning profile I like to go for. So with my house rub, I always start assuming that I've added the salt separately. The salt dry brine works amazing on everything I've thrown at it, from turkeys to chicken to big steaks to even brisket and pulled pork. And so since I do that so often, the house rub that I use doesn't have any salt. If you're gonna go ahead and copy the recipe I'll put up on screen, just make note that you need to salt it ahead of time and or just add salt into the rub if you'd like to do that. So I'm gonna be going with a mixture of black pepper, some garlic, paprika, and in today's rub, a little bit of cayenne pepper. But if you want, there's some extra optional recommended extras I'll put down below. You can go ahead and tailor for whatever cook you're doing. And I think we are getting close to bring our bird out and seasoning up. As I can smell the smoke rolling, we're only another 50, 60 degrees or so away from being at temperature. So I'm gonna go grab the bird. We'll season it up really quick here on our side shelf and get ready to throw it on and see if today is redemption day for the Kamado Joe Pellet Joe on some spatchcocked chicken. Okay, we're up to temperature, and since I know from my brisket experience, we can call it that we're a little bit hotter in the back, I'm gonna go ahead and put the dark meat towards the back. All right, so after initially clearing the area of mosquitoes, not that it's warm enough for any of that, but we burned off some of those leftover drippings from our last brisket cook. Smoke's now running nice and clear. Since I can't quite get the information of what's going on exactly with our pit temperature in the iCommand app, I can on my iCommand for the Classic or Big Joe see exactly what the pit's doing, exactly what the food's doing. But after my last brisket cook, I want to make sure I understand even more about what's going on with the grill. So today I'm going to be using my meter block and a probe to track not just when the chicken's done, so it's not on user error this time, but also to get a little bit more data so I can understand more about what's going inside of our Kamado Joe Pellet Joe. Let's bring the camera a little closer, we'll add a probe. Okay, 35 minutes later, and the meter says our spatchcocked chicken is done. And hotter and faster definitely seems to be getting along more with the Kamado Joe Pellet Joe than our low and slow. And that makes sense, since our other success on this pellet grill was doing a high heat pizza using the Dojo accessory. And so maybe we found a little uniqueness here where the hotter and faster temperatures, things seem a lot more stable. When I looked at our temp on the dome, I was seeing, 415 to 420 degrees Fahrenheit. It's exactly the temperature that I was getting on our meter, which was installed near the grid, but it was hanging out right in this front area. And then looking at the iCommand app, which doesn't allow me to track the grid throughout the cook, wonder why, based off of the last one with brisket. I saw the temp spike up to 460, 470 or so, where it was set for that 450 degrees Fahrenheit. So let me show you a look at the grill, but again, that's just one more plug for why it's great to use data. It just helps us understand exactly what's going on. I've been cooking on a ceramic Kamado with charcoal as my fuel source, no pellets in there, no electrical plugs needed. And so learning, the little quirks and hacks to how our grill performs will just help us come up with a better game plan in terms of which way we orient our meat. Can make a big difference if we raise it at all, what temperatures we set it to get the best results. So this is all part of the learning a new grill, and I'm so glad you're along for the ride to help figure out together, what the strengths and weaknesses are of any new grill so that we can make better decisions on how we use them in the future. Anyways, enough chit chat. Let me bring you a little closer, show you what our bird looks like, and we'll let it rest and then slice it up, get ready for our taste test. Okay, and just 35 minutes later, the meter says our spatchcocked chicken is done. So we're just getting ready to pull that off, but taking a look at the data in our cook, a couple interesting things stand out here. So our dome and the meter were surprisingly aligned. And so if you remember, we installed the meter into our chicken breast right at the front on a 90-degree angle so that we are not getting any ambient temperature readings from the bird. So we were seeing about 420 degrees Fahrenheit on the meter. It was very similar to what I was seeing on the dome, looks like about 420 degrees as well. But at the back of the grill, where our ambient temperature sensor is for the iCommand, was definitely seeing some of those heat spikes and fluctuations, potentially from that firebox, adding fuel and turning the inferno mode fans on. And I think the peak I saw back there was about 470 degrees. And so this is where data is so helpful. And since Kamado Joe doesn't yet allow us to see the data of our grill in terms of how it performs up and down, I'm guessing after my brisket cook, there's a reason as to why. Using some extra tools like the meter or any wireless tracking or even wired tracking for that matter would work great to help us understand exactly what's going on in different areas of our grill. And since I've been cooking with charcoal on a ceramic Kamado with no power cords necessary for the last 10 years, there's a lot of different things going on here. We've got fans, we've got pellets, we've got less proximity from the heat source to our food. And so as much information that we can give ourselves will just help inform our game plan for future cooks. That can inform which way we place our meat, front, back, left, right. Maybe it's better to run ribs and briskets from left to right than it is front to back, so we don't interfere with where that sensor is looking to get ambient temperature, which is informing the algorithm how to respond with fuel and air from the fan, etc. So glad you're part of the learning curve and hanging out along for the ride to see how this cook turned out. Let me show you the bird. We'll let it rest and we'll slice it up, get ready for our taste test. That's a good looking chicken. Fat feels pretty rendered. Could have even maybe taken a touch more temperature on the top for the skin. Not quite as crispy as I'm used to getting. Let's take a look at the bottom here. See if you can get that. Not too bad. It's a little dark down there, but we will see. Favorite part of the night. Let's dig in for our taste test. This bird was slicing really nice. Skin feels pretty good, like I said when we were just taking it off. Let's go ahead and see how it tastes. Start with a piece of our white meat here. Dig in. This is much better than our brisket, so this is definitely not a chicken fail. In terms of, what am I tasting? What are we getting different? So first thing you notice is that bottom overdoneness, just being that much closer to the heat source. It's hard to avoid, overcooking the bottom and getting enough heat in our dome that it renders out that chicken skin and chicken fat. And so I wonder if next time I might use a V-rack or even see if my grid extender works in order to get that bird a little bit further away from our heat source, because first thing I got is just a little thin piece of overdoneness followed by the rest of a really juicy, flavorful bird. Let's go in for another bite, see if I can separate again the seasoning and our chicken from the grill itself and using pellets versus charcoal. So I think my family is gonna love this bird. And I think the reason they're gonna love it is that smoke profile, very clean, but it's mild. And so, poultry is one of those things, it's easy to over smoke. If you're not careful, if you use wet wood chips or too much wood, you can really overblow it. My very first Thanksgiving, I did a lot of damage with the family by following a recipe that said throw a bunch of wood chips in there. They should be soaked, and then halfway through throw in more soaked wood chips. And that bird tasted like you went out into the forest and just licked a wet tree. It was bad, and it took a long time to regain trust with the missus on being able to cook important meals like Thanksgiving. Over the last 10 years, spent a lot of time trying to dial in the smoke profile. And so I can see how someone who's maybe had a bad smoke experience and then has chicken off of a pellet grill, like our Kamado Joe Pellet Joe here, and immediately it's refreshing. But I'm gonna go ahead and say, this is not better, this is just managed properly, where we're not over smoking it. So far out of 4 cooks, we now have a split decision. We've got steak and brisket coming up in my not favorite camp, wouldn't call them a huge success. And we've got the pizza that we did with the Pellet Joe and Dojo, as well as chicken, getting a thumbs up for a good cook. So where do you guys want to go for a tiebreaker? Let me know in the comments down below as we continue to learn the new grill, its capabilities, its strengths, its weaknesses, so we know how and where it should fit into our arsenal. Anyways, I can't wait to hear what's on your mind. While you're down there, if you like this video, please go ahead and let YouTube know by smashing that thumbs up button, and let me know by hitting subscribe to catch future videos. Until next time, I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue signing off, and remember, don't be afraid to fire it up.